Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and Giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things Giallo and Giallo adjacent here on The King in Giallo, and it's time for another unscripted talking head movie review. This is for the 1970 Giallo film entitled Il tuo dolce corpo da uccidere, which is either the literal translation, Your Sweet Body to Kill, or as it's sometimes known under, for English audiences, as A Suitcase for a Corpse. I've been calling it Your Sweet Body to Kill just because it's easier for me to tie it to the Italian title, but Suitcase for a Corpse is also very appropriate, probably more appropriate for what actually happens. So yeah, I will be incredibly brief with this one. I did find it online in Italian, and I found the English subtitle track separate, and I've combined them and uploaded it to YouTube. It should still be available unless there's any problems, and I hope you enjoy, because it is pretty good. It's not bad. It is very familiar. This has been done numerous times in the genre, particularly in the 60s, and I've seen it done better, but it's still not bad. But yes, I have provided it on YouTube for you all to watch. This is directed by Alfonso Brescia, who I believe this is his first Giallo. And then he would also do Naked Girl Killed in the Park in 1972. And then in 1990-something, 92, he would do Murder in Blue Light, which I also covered earlier, and that should also be available. This movie stars Giorgio, Ardisson, who was also in Human Cobras, which would come out the following year. Also Françoise Prévost, who was in Naked Violence. Oh, Françoise Prévost was also in The Murder Clinic, so that was her first Giallo. Orchidea de Santis, who has been in a lot. I think this might have been also her first Giallo, but she would go on to be in The Weekend Murders and Devil in the Brain, 7 Murders for Scotland Yard, Love and Death in the Garden of the Gods, The Killer Wore Gloves, a few others. And then it also stars Eduardo Fajardo, who I know first and foremost from Django, but he was in a lot in 1972. He was in The Two Faces of Fear, The Murder Mansion, and Knife of Ice. Okay, now that I've got the credits out of the way, let me get right into this. So this is a Giallo film that follows the format of Les Diaboliques. As I've said, there's a lot of Giallo films, particularly in the 60s, that did the Les Diaboliques thing. It has to deal with someone who is murdered or dies, but usually they're murdered, and then the idea of them being totally dead is brought into question. Now for this movie, it doesn't really come up until the end, spoiler alert. This one is more about, will this man get away with the murder? But regardless, so it follows Giorgio Ardisson. His character's name is Clive. He is an odd fellow. He's married to Diana, who is a shrewd businesswoman. This is what she cares about first and foremost, and her life is very regimented. If husband and wife are to have sex, it needs to be on a schedule, or she'll be like, well, there's about 15 minutes that we can squeeze in. Clive is very odd. He's very passionate about his special fish. I think they're supposed to be tropical fish. I don't really recall, but the two are not totally matched, and Clive is emasculated to a degree by his wife. It's not horrible, but she's definitely kind of a bully, puts him down a lot, and he finds out through an anonymous letter sent to him that she is having an affair with Eduardo Fajardo's character, Franz Adler, which Adler means eagle in German, if you were wondering. And he's a doctor, he's a psychotherapist, he's a doctor. Anyways, this also, I should note that the movie opens with Clive having a dream, a nightmare that he's murdering his wife, and he murders her like twice in different ways. And this is on his mind a lot. And so through the first 15 minutes of the movie, it keeps cutting back to his imagination of him just killing his wife or torturing his wife, feeding her worms that he feeds to his fish. So after getting this news, he decides enough is enough. So he blackmails Franz, and with some incriminating evidence that Franz has ties to the Nazis, and Clive is going to expose this if he does not murder Diana. So Franz apparently does murder Diana, and her body is put in this cellophane wrap, and I guess presumably chopped up and divided into 3 suitcases. Earlier in the movie, when Clive was sitting in bed with his wife, she was mentioning about this tannery that she has in Tangiers, and there's a bunch of open pits full of acid so that they can get rid of any material that they need to. Well, he looks at this as like Aha. So he gets the idea. I will blackmail my wife's lover so that he murders her, and then I will fly to Tangiers with the body in luggage, and then I will dispose of the luggage in the acid pits. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, a few things can go wrong. One of the pieces of luggage is mixed up among one of three possible women. So there's a big mix-up with luggage. It seems to get handled on the airplane, but obviously it's not. And he arrives in Tangiers, meets a friend who is a detective. I wonder if that will come up, as well as the Dick's young accomplice, his guy he's training. I don't know. It introduces that. Clive gets rid of the suitcases, but one of the suitcases has women's things in it. So he realizes that it must have gotten mixed up with one of those three women. And so for the last half of the movie or so, he goes to try to find these women, try to find a way to get close to them so he can get their luggage so he can get it back. And he finds the first woman is an slightly older woman that he's trying to romance, and she is clearly in need of some attention, some affection. And she brings him in. He finds her luggage. There's nothing. So he leaves, goes to this next girl. I think she's a dancer. Goes into her backstage area. He gets caught, but finds her things, and there's nothing. And then the last woman, who was a woman he was sitting next to on the plane, who's I think she sets up fashion events, is what it was. He finds her, and this is Orchidea de Santis, and they strike it off. They actually have a really good rapport, and he finds out that she loves fish. And she's telling him about how, a lot of people don't know how to raise these certain types of fish. You have to feed them this, not this, or else they get sick. And he decides, because he can't actually access the luggage yet, he can't dispose of it. Well, shit, I should just spend time with her until the time is right for me to get rid of the luggage. He does, and I don't know if I want to spoil too much, but let's just say just know he's becoming very paranoid. He notices the one friend, the private detective's accomplice, so to speak, assistant, is tailing him. He gets paranoid when someone takes a photo of him. Lo and behold, in the end, he stumbles into his room and finds his wife there. And he starts freaking out, and then the detective bursts in and says, the jig is up. And he is arrested, and he kind of is playing through this dream in his head of how he and Elena is the young woman's name, how they could have lived happily ever after, but in the end it just wasn't meant to be. And then we get these final scenes with Franz and Diana in the car, and she just starts word vomiting to him about how she needs to do this at this time, and then this at this, and then this, and then we need to go do this, and you're gonna have to start doing this. And you just see this look on his face like, oh no, what have I done? And he realizes that he has now just inherited Clive's misery. So it's a good one. I don't know if I particularly really liked it, but it's definitely worth watching. Like I have said, the one that comes to mind in terms of a Le Diabolique type Giallo is always going to be Perversion Story. I think that one was just the better written of any of these types of movies, but this is still fairly good. It's just, and also what I liked about it was the plot was very well contained. The script was well contained, that it did feel like you could probably do a staged version of this, conceivably. And I thought that was really interesting. Beyond all that, I don't really have anything bad to say about the movie. Like I said, it's just not particularly great, but it's not bad by any stretch. And this is one that I could totally see Vinegar Syndrome picking up and putting in a Forgotten Gialli box set, and I think it would actually be a pretty good decision. It's a good one. One thing that I did find that I did enjoy about this movie is there's not a lot of likable people. Like, I would say, what's her name? Elena is probably the most likable. Everybody else is either, annoying or a tyrant or a pushover or supposedly collaborated or worked with the Nazis. And so this is one of those movies where you follow someone in the aftermath of committing a crime, and the tension is not, are they going to survive? Are they going to be killed? It's, are they going to get away with murder? Which is always fun when you can have the audience rooting for the person, or at least sympathizing with, kind of wanting them to get away. And in terms of this story, Clive is fairly likable. He is, you can see where he's coming from in terms of his wife is flaunting this affair in front of him. She's consistently hooking up with this guy like at 4:30 every day. And he even says to his, I don't know, someone that he trusts, he even says that, now if this was like a one-time affair, I could understand that. But this is like ongoing every day. And so there's a part of me that at least can sympathize with Clive. Like, I get it. Still, maybe blackmail and murder was not the way to go, but for the sake of the movie, I get it. Now, if this was real life, it'd be like, oh, well, obviously that's horrific. But for the sake of the movie, it's like, I get it, and I'm following him, and I think he's not going to get away. These movies never end with the person getting away with it, and that's it. And if they do, it's probably like they have this shadow that will always be looming over them, but I think they always get caught in the end. And the thing is, when you get to the end and you see Franz and Diana, it's like, well, I don't particularly like them either. Obviously, they didn't commit, a mortal sin of murder, but they are having an affair. And in terms of him working with the Nazis, I don't recall, and I watched the movie twice, I don't recall that being like no, he was mistaken sort of thing. There is a line earlier in the play or in the film, which I did not think about when it first happened until it got to the end. And then when I rewatched it, I said, oh, there it is this movie does the Giallo thing where it's like, those pills are not good for you, or hey, you should keep taking your pills. Clive is taking these pills, and that becomes a thing where either him taking them or him not taking them when he's supposed to is affecting his mental state. And I thought that was interesting. I did not think about it when I first saw it, but it does come up. And by the end, it's like, yeah, he's becoming like super paranoid and unraveling, and the medication, whether it was taking it or not taking it when he should have been, was a part of it. And so I got to the end and I'm trying to look at like, okay, was the fact that Franz was collaborating with the Nazis, did that really happen or not? And I couldn't find anything that said, no, that didn't happen. So as far as we know, it did. Again, I could be mistaken here. I was going through, the first time I went through this movie, I was meticulously moving the subtitles over because the track that I dropped into my video editor, and they're all timed. And sometimes it works, and other times it just crams in all these subtitles before a scene so that you can have like 5 seconds with each line of text, which is like, no, you don't need that. So I went through and I cleaned it up. I moved the lines of the subtitles over every line that they should have been. But that was the first time I watched it. So then I actually exported it, rewatched it so I could actually enjoy it without having to do work. But yeah, I didn't catch if the whole Nazi thing was actually not true, but I'm pretty sure it was. So again, it's like the main trio of characters are not particularly likable, but I did like the end that Diana and Franz, they got away with tricking Clive into getting himself arrested, and he then is actually arrested for murder because the detective's assistant was tailing him, and he ended up getting the guy thrown off of a roof and murdered, and that was photographed. So he did commit a murder. It's not like he's going to prison for attempted murder or conspiracy or something. No, he actually did get someone killed. Yeah, so by the end there's some really good poetic justice, but like I said, there's other Giallo films that have done this same type of concept better, but this is still a good one. But yeah, those are essentially my thoughts on Suitcase for a Corpse or Your Sweet Body to Kill, and it should be available. I've put it up, so I hope you can enjoy the film, because it has not had a US distribution and has been very hard to find, and so this should be the first time that English speaking audiences should be able to access the movie easily on YouTube. Anyways, yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are for the movie. Let me know if you particularly like this or didn't like it. Whatever. Like I've said, I enjoy this little back and forth with these. That's all I've got to say. I just remembered. I'm watching this, and I'm watching, I think it's called Ringo, It's Massacre Time, which is a spaghetti western Giallo, because those are the two 1970 Giallo films that I had not watched. And so I decided, well, I've just done a 1972 tier rank list video. If I want to do one for 1970, I just got to knock out these two movies and then I can do it. For 1971, I think there's like 6 or so, maybe more films that I need to track down and watch. And one of them is essentially almost a lost film. I can find it on DVD Lady, but I'd have to pay for it. If I do, I will upload it to YouTube for you guys so you can watch it. And that is the Freedom to Have Wet Wings is what it's called. Very hard to find, but like I said, DVD Lady has it, which I might have to go that route to get access to some of these movies that are unavailable. If I do, I will always upload them for you so you can enjoy them as well, because I'm not a gatekeeper like the Fifth Discord, who forces you to be in their group chat before they invite you to their little watch parties. And I'm betting that they will probably steal my upload and put it on their little watch party list. Anyway, so I would do that and get those other tier ranking videos done, because I think they're really, like I said, I think they're fun and they're just incredibly easy to do. Going back and doing it for the 1960s, from 1963 to 69, there's like, I think 40 something Giallo, proto-Giallo, Giallo adjacent films. And there's a number of those that I would have to track down to watch, which some of them are available. Some of them are not so easily available, but that's going to be a whole endeavor for me. But if I do track down those movies, I will do unscripted talking head movie reviews for them, upload them if I can, and I will do the 1960s tier ranking video as well. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, I also have the Black Belly of the Tarantula product review for Celluloid Dreams. I'm also going to do Short Night of Glass Dolls product review for Celluloid Dreams. I've had it for almost a year, and it's still wrapped in the cellophane, or plastic. So I'm gonna do a review for that as well. And then I'm gonna try and do the reviews for all those 15 Polizioteschi films, as well as I will probably do a product review for the Vinegar Syndrome Eurocrime Rarities Volume 1 box set. So there's a lot on the way, as well as I will start doing X-Files videos. Once I get into the Polizioteschi, I don't know how frequently I'm going to be uploading, if it's going to be one of those a week, or if I'm going to have to try and drop 2 or 3 of them a week just so I can steamroll through it, because otherwise I'm going to be talking about Polizioteschi's for like a few months. And I'm pretty sure some of you who, subscribe for Giallo content would be a little annoyed if they're not getting Giallo content. But however I figure it out, it's just that I need to be able to stagger my work so that it works with you guys getting what you should be getting, but I also have a time for me to focus on the other things that I'm doing, so I'm not just video editing day in and day out and neglecting my life. But that's it. So yes, thank you for watching. Leave any questions, comments, curiosities, or concerns in the comment section down below, and I will get back to you. And this is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, folks.
Mio piccolo caro Clive, vuoi fare l'amore? Va bene, caro. Abbiamo solo un quarto d'ora di tempo. No? Meglio. Ti fa male.